We are nothing sacred. We are nothing sacred. We are nothing sacred.
With Maxwell Silverhammer.
We are nothing sacred. With cruise control. We are nothing sacred.
Oh, yeah.
All right. We are here. We have another Nothing Sacred interview. I am Cruise Control.
And I'm Maxwell Silverhammer. And with us from the Brookford Police Department, Chief Will Armstrong. Welcome to the show, Chief Armstrong.
Thank you, brother. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely, yes. Man. Absolutely. Well, you know, this is what we got to do every time we have first responders on or military or whatever, man. We got to thank you for your service. That's the first thing we do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just to reiterate to everyone else, if you have issues with these people, go ahead and try to do it yourself. But realize that most people can't, and there's a reason why we appreciate people who have service and do these first responding type jobs, because there's not a lot of people that can actually do this from day to day. So, like I said, thanks. Props to you, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. We don't, it's a different time. You don't hear that as much anymore, man.
Well, that's,
we keep it going, man. We definitely, right. You know, but, you know, usually what we do, you know, like, especially with law enforcement, we have you guys kind of go back through your career, but really, man, your story starts in childhood, because it sounds like you had kind of a dysfunctional childhood, man. What, you mind talking about that a little bit?
Yeah, man, absolutely. I don't mind sharing the story. So yeah, I mean, I know I've talked about it a little bit before and touched on it, but man, I grew up in a household, man, full of domestics, parents that were on drug abuse and alcohol abuse and stuff like that, man. And just with what I had dealt with, you know, it does one of two things, man. You know, it makes you either want to go towards law enforcement if you want to make a difference, or it makes you not. A lot of people, they do the opposite. They don't want to go anything near law enforcement. But, you know, my dad was an alcoholic, in and out of jail his whole life, you know, always arrested, and domestics, man, just crazy stuff that would go on all the time at my household. And as a kid, man, it takes a lot of trauma on you. And then I kind of, because of their stuff that they had done, I ended up in foster care. So in and out of foster care and group homes and et cetera, man. And really, I never knew where my life was going to take me, or what I was going to do. I just can remember, man, ever since I've been a kid, I seen the blue lights come, and those were the good guys. So, you know, I see blue lights, I'm like, man, those are the good guys. And so I had a drive in me when I was a kid. I wanted to do it, but, you know, a lot of people say I never know if you're going to stick to it or not, but I just always, and then as I got older, I realized, like, I've got to do something to change my life. Otherwise you become a product of your environment. It's just reproduction, which I see all the time. And I was like, man, I got to do something to change the game here. I don't want to end up like everyone else in my family. And, you know, I just had bigger aspirations. And but that is initially, you know, what got my interest in law enforcement, believe it or not. As I got older, well, even when I was younger, I used to go to a local skating ring. I met an off-duty officer that worked there at the time. He would do that as extra. It's an extra gig. And his name was Ray Ollis, and he just came to mentor me. He didn't know I was going through all the childhood stuff, though. He'd see me for a couple months at the skating ring, and I'd be gone for a year or two. And then he'd see me for a couple months. But as I got older, we finally exchanged information, got to know each other, and we just, you know, I finally was able to tell him a little bit more about what was going on in my childhood and stuff. And, you know, he was kind of amazed, I think, because he never really expected that. But you know, as soon as I could get into law enforcement, man, I did. So when I was 20, I went ahead and got in, and that's what it ended up leading to. Before that, I worked EMS for 3 years, and had a little, and so that was the first thing. I was just kind of drawn to emergency responders.
So you were an emergency oh, sorry, Max.
I was just gonna say, as a teenager, even like 17, they let
That's
you
where I was going
EMS?
with it. Yeah, you started at 17.
Yeah. I think roughly, I think 17 or 18, one of the two. But I did that for 3 years, and I let my certification go. But yeah, like as early as you can get in, it was either 17 or 18. I want to say 17, but it might have been 18. But I know I'd done it for 3 years, and I know you say it, I think I was 17. So, but you can work fire and stuff like that, I believe. So I did that kind of stuff. But as soon as I was able to get on an ambulance, I believe I was 18, and I started working
Wow.
EMS. And so I did that for 3 years or so. In addition to working another job, I worked I did some security at a local hospital. So I did that. So I did work both of those, and then as soon as I was eligible to get into law enforcement, man, and old enough, I went through the basic academy, and my first department actually sent me through and paid for my tuition and stuff. And so that was a story of how I really got in there, man. But I was just determined. I was just so driven to emergency responders, and I knew that I couldn't do law enforcement until you turn 20. And so I was like, as soon as I was able to, I was like, man, I'm gonna find something else as a holding spot. For one, what I thought that done was it kind of keeps your head on a swivel. You kind of, it keeps you gained and want to do something different. You know that you want to go into law enforcement. So the next best thing, man, is still something where you get to drive fast and have a good time and help people, man. And so that was kind of my idea behind it. So I went through
Well,
EMT school and started working on an ambulance.
interesting. Stop there for a second. So you went to EMT school, went through that. Obviously, you saw a bunch of gore. I'm sure you saw some nasty stuff as an EMT. Obviously.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
Car accidents.
yeah, car accidents and thing like that. So a lot of times, obviously, with police officers, you see that as well. So I'm
Oh
sure
yeah.
did that give you gave you probably a little leg up going into police officer work because you already had experience seeing that traumatic shit, like.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that helped me out. It just really it was another passion, man, and just wanting to help people and getting to see all the cool stuff that goes on, man. So you get to see car accidents, you get to go out to domestics when people get beat up, you get to go see all this stuff and the action. You may be there a little bit sometimes before the fact, after the fact, drug overdoses. So you run a lot of calls with law enforcement, and
Mm-hmm.
I was just, man, it was cool. It was awesome. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time that I done with it. It definitely gave me a leg up. It gave me an insight. But I tell a lot of people that kind of experience really prepared me early on for law enforcement because you get a lot of exposure to things and seeing things, know how to present yourself and talk to people. You got to learn how to deal with people, and
Yeah.
that helped out a lot. But my childhood, man, really helped me out. A lot of people don't get to know they don't know what a crack rock is or what marijuana is until they finally get into law enforcement or they see it for the first time or they seize it on the side of the road. In my case, man, I knew what it was at 5 years old. I knew what criminal activity was. I watched my parents, I watched my father go in and steal or whatever the case may be. So I knew the indicators of what it looks like when somebody's stealing. I knew the indicators of what it looks like when somebody's using narcotics, when somebody's using alcohol abuse, when a lady comes to the door and she's telling you that everything's fine, but in the house, there's a different story behind closed doors. I grew up with it. So I was so used to knowing what the criminal element was. If you count life experience, man, he's only at the time when I became the chief, people were like, yeah, man, he's only 24 years old, but he has so much life experience, man, that stuff kind of speaks for itself, man. It really does. And people don't understand that because a lot of people are like, man, he's very well put. Some people would say he's very well put together. He really seems to know what he's talking about for his age. And I think the life experience led me to that kind of stuff. It wasn't just yeah, you learn a little bit in law enforcement, man, and you learn how to do things here and there. But I grew
Yeah.
up, man, about nothing but criminal activity. So when it was time to actually get into law enforcement, I may not have knew the legal procedures on how to do things, but I knew what a criminal looks like, what they do, their behaviors, their characteristics, how to treat them, how to talk to them, what their, what drug usage looks like, and that kind of thing. And that progressed me ages in my career. It just did.
Mm-hmm.
I remember on Patrol Live, there was one where you you got triggered, man. You noticed because I was like, what the hell is he jumping all over? It was some woman you pulled over. I think she had kids in the car and she was
Yeah.
drinking or something. And you right away, you just were like, first it was real courteous as you approached her, but then when you realized what was going on, you're like, no, get out of the car. You're pissing me off now. And I'm like, whoa, what happened? So right away, you picked up on something that probably most people would have had to dig a little more for.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that was what it was, man. I recognized. I seen that kid in the back of that car, and those kids, man, and they don't know any better. I didn't know any better when I was that age. But mom's riding around drinking, At the time, she did pass standard field sobriety testing, but she had just downed that alcohol. So the thing was, her blood alcohol content was low at the time, but it was going up. And that's why her behavior was the way it was. That's why she, what the show I don't think got at the beginning was she failed to stop at the line for the light. She was in the middle of the intersection. That's the whole reason I got behind her. And then the way that she was driving, it just her behavior was one thing. And then I get up there to talk to her, and she's slurring her words, and the way that she's acting, the delayed, the lethargic responses, I'm picking up immediately like this is alcohol impairment. I did time as on my first agency, the DWI task force officer, so I knew a lot. I mean, I'm really trained in alcohol enforcement when it comes to DWIs. But in addition, man, I seen like I said, I was sitting there, man, and I could just picture what those kids were, because it really pissed me off, man, that she's sitting in there with these children, and these kids could have got killed. She was sitting in the middle of the intersection, and I don't care if you pass the damn field sobriety test or not. That doesn't really make a damn to me.
No.
The fact being is that you were impaired, and you were impaired to the point of the way that you were driving. Her alcohol content wasn't high enough legally, but her behavior and everything was showing nothing but impairment. And some people kind of thought I was wrong for that. I seen some people say some negative comments and stuff back on that, but I had a lot of people understand where I was coming from. But what the hell goes through your mind? And I hate to say it that way. What the hell goes through somebody's mind that you think it's okay? And that was like a really high alcohol content drink that she decided to down. And we don't know if that's all she had down. That's an investigation. We don't know if that's all she had. She's saying that's all she had, but for all we know, she had 2 of them at the gas station, which is what she admitted. It was that she could have admitted to. And that's why she's driving the way she is. And her alcohol content is starting to go up. And we don't know that. So I'm sitting here looking like, and you think it's a good idea to drive with your children in the car. So you're going to put their damn lives at risk. And it put me back in a setting of like, man, that was me at one point in time. And when I see that, man, it just pisses me off, because I wish somebody would have spoke up and said that to my parents. I wish somebody would have said that to my mother at that time, because it's fucking selfish, man. And these people don't, good.
Oh yeah. It's like I said, they don't, not only that, but having her in the middle of the intersection, what if somebody else who was recklessly driving came through the other way and wasn't paying attention? Absolutely. And you've got kids, that's endangerment to your children regardless.
Absolutely. And the way I work, and people have learned and started to pick up on it, I'm only an ass if I have to be an ass, man. I don't just start off like that. And a lot of times, dude, I only do it is a scare tactic. Many times I talk to you like that because I would rather you realize and wake up and smell the coffee and be like, you know what, man, it may be, because what people do is they remember that stuff. If you go over and you write somebody a ticket, they don't remember that. Maybe they do if it's their first ticket, but a habitual person that continues to break traffic law and stuff, they don't give a damn about any of that stuff. So my mindset behind it is this. It's like, if I go up to that window and I chew you out one good time, or I make an impression on you, you're going to say, man, he was an asshole when he pulled me over. I'm not going back through that town because that guy's an ass. I don't want to get stopped by that asshole. But they remember that, and they're likely not to follow that again. So I do that more of the scare tactic, hoping that it leaves a long-lasting impression, thinking that it's not necessarily because I just enjoy it or want to be mean, man. I don't do that at all. It's just, but I do realize what the effects are. If I go up and I give you a ticket, you may not remember, you may not care. You get your defense attorney to drop it, whatever the case may be, and then you go on about your business. But I go over there and I tell you you're acting like an ass and you think I'm an asshole, you're going to remember that. And the next time you come through there, you're going to be like, man, I better slow down because that asshole stopped me again. And and it works. That is what works. And I get a lot more respect from that than I do when I go up and say, hey, ma'am, here's your ticket. I appreciate it and whatever. Now, some people deserve that, but there's some people that do like what she does, in my opinion, don't deserve that. And if I get the ultimate call to give you a counseling lesson, is what I call it right there on the side of the road, give you a counseling lesson.
Well,
man,
go ahead.
Well,
Max.
big question for you though. Have because you talked about your parents. What have they cleaned up since then? What's the latest?
My father's still in prison right now, and my mother did clean up. She got older and changed a little bit, man, and so she did change quite a bit. When she got older, she cleaned up her life a little bit, and she's not the person she once was. But yeah, my father, he never learned. He's still he's in prison today.
Wow,
wow,
that's amazing. Now going back to so going back to your journey to being a chief at your young age, you got in the police force at 20, so 4 years, which for anybody, obviously for any promotion, I think in a lot of cases, especially in the police department, going from that to a chief of police, what explain that journey for us, please?
Man, it was one of those things where you never know where life's going to take you, man. And it really wasn't expected. So I worked 2 years at Statesville Police Department, 2 years at the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, which was near me, as well. And once I did that, I also spent an additional 2 years at uh, Brookford Police Department, which is where I'm the chief at now. And so when I had done that, I wasn't, it was just an extra income kind of job. But while I was there working for the chief, man, he had me doing all kind of stuff, recruitment and paperwork and office administration stuff. And so I got to learn a lot of the other aspects, background checks and hiring people and all this other stuff. So I was doing a lot of the chief's job. And I seen it had potential, man. And I enjoyed it because I was young and I'm a person that's eager to learn. So like when I see something, man, like if something new happens around me, I just like to try to see if I can learn it, man. I'm not one of those people that you show me something, man, I just try to forget it. I really do try to learn it. And so he picked up on that aspect. I was just pretty quick and it's a small agency. I was pretty quick with picking up a lot of that stuff. And so he eventually decided he would retire, and the position went open, and they posted it. And I was at Lincoln County Sheriff's Office still work at the sheriff's office, and I had several people in town, the mayor and those folks that are like, man, we really like you. You ought to put in for that position. And so, man, I'm like, the first time I heard that, there was somebody in town that had said it to me, and I was like, man, you're crazy. I'm like, dude, I'm 24 years old. There's no way, no way, no way. But I kind of laughed about it and joked about it. They're like, no, man. They're like, you really ought to put in for that position. They're like, you just, you have a good personality, and we just like the way that you work, and you're a hard worker. And there was somebody, and then I spoke to a guy that used to be on the city council, and he had also mentioned, he's like, you can put in for that chief's job. I'm like, man, I'm 24. Like, I don't think I have a shot. Really, like you're gonna. Obviously, they want somebody with more life. Somebody's got more law enforcement experience. Is kind of what I thought. They were like, no, man, it's not necessarily about that. This is a small town. You've got the potential to be a great chief. They just really like me. And I remember the guy saying that, and I thought about it. I said, oh, I'm not doing it. Well, finally, it was the last day before the position actually closed, I believe, that I decided, I was like, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. And it just and I did. And went through the process, and it wasn't too long after it, man, they called me back, and they were like, they had a lot of out-of-state applicants and some other applicants, but the city council just really liked me, and they liked my presentation. In addition, they really liked they also, they really liked, the mayor liked me, and the town manager, man. So I had some ends because I was there and I was doing the job with the chief. And so they knew I had the capability of doing the chief's job. They just, everybody gets a little iffy about the age. I actually had 2 city council members that were like, yeah, he's going to do great. We want him 100%. When that's what it broke down to. And then I had 2 other city council members that were like, he's too young. We're not willing to take that risk. It's a liability and this and that.
Yeah, you're always going to have that somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, that was the ultimate thing, man. I had 2 city council members said yes, we want him. I had 2 said no, he's not ready yet. We need find somebody that's more experienced. And I understood it. And then what ended up happening was the mayor was a tiebreaker, and he spoke up, and he was like, well, I'm the tiebreaker, and I want Mr. Armstrong. And so that's
wow.
And so that's how I got my job, man. And it ended up being on that later on, those same city council members, man, came back and said, dude, we never doubted you, but you have really done a great job, and you've been the best thing this town's ever had, and so now I was able to prove to them that young people have the potential to do things, man.
Of course.
A lot of people get underestimated.
Well, yeah,
it's
that's
what you
definitely
see.
true.
It's the image you're seeing a lot of with younger people too.
And of course, and we're also we could actually be your dads, so. So
that's actually kind of funny.
Yeah. So we're in our mid 40s, late 40s. So it's obviously, like we're like young, and I'm sure the city council is the same way. But obviously you've been doing that for how long now?
Been a year and we're in February. I swore in January of 2023, so it's February now, 2024. So
happy anniversary, man.
Yeah, happy anniversary, first anniversary. And how many people do you have? How many police officers do you have under you?
So when I first took over, I believe we maybe had 5 or so. I want to say at the time. I have 9 underneath of me, and man, it's doing great. It's been amazing, man. And the best part is I've been able to retain everybody that I've had, man. It's just they really enjoy my leadership style.
Sweet.
And so it's been really, really good. It was one of those things that people I think really underestimated, man. And then I came in and did a really good job, and now I just I've been able to maintain those people and maintain good relationships with the community. And, I changed the way I think that a lot of people viewed young people at the time, man. And even in this area, because there was a lot of people, man, you know what I mean? You go in and do something like that, you got a lot of haters, man.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you had any issues with like people like going, I don't have to listen to you, or even people that you work with.
You're too young. You don't understand what I'm going through.
Because I mean, like I said, you got somebody on who's been at the police been a police officer there for and they're like 35 or 40. And or even there are even possibilities that they've been police officers since you were in diapers.
Absolutely. Some of them before I was born.
Yeah,
some of them
exactly.
police officers before I was born that I came in and now I'm their boss, and they didn't like that. There was some that were like, I ain't listening to this young fucker. Like, he don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And there was some people that definitely thought that, man. And I think I had to come in and kind of like wean their respect. I'm not a guy that just comes in and just changes everything. So I came in, man, and strategically kind of, made changes here and there. And I included everybody on the input of the things I wanted to do. And one thing I hate about leadership in some places I worked was they don't include the staff in the decisions that they're making. And those are the people that need to know. So, that was the first thing I did, man. I wanted them to realize, look, I value your experience. I value what you have to offer. I'm no better than you by no means, and I don't think I'm better than you. I'm just the guy that's been selected to do the job, and I'm going to do my best, man, to make sure that we do have a successful team. But I can't do it without you. I can only do it with you. I had to come into them with that kind of mindset and make them understand, like, dude, I respect you, I appreciate you, and I know that you have the experience to possibly do the same job that I'm doing. But I need you to work with me. So, and I think I was able to get a lot more respect better that way than I was if I would have came in and just, hey, look, you listen to me. Then I would have been the guy that exactly who they thought I was. I'm the young guy that comes in and thinks he knows every damn thing, and that's what everybody hates. So I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I got a real live testimony that I can say about you not being afraid to get dirty. This dude, okay, when I reached out to him originally, he answered the phone. Usually when I'm doing these kind of interviews for people, on Patrol Live or anybody, I got to go through a bunch of people and, okay, well, I'll have call you back. I'll do that. But this dude answered the phone. I'm like, holy shit, this is who I'm trying to reach out to, man. Hey, Chief Armstrong. So it was kind of cool, man. I was like, damn, you don't see that very often.
No, man. See, I'm a team player, man. I have to get down and dirty, man. And when you're small in an agency like I am, man, you have to be a working chief. And I think that's one thing that a lot of these, the older guys didn't, I don't think they realize that, you have to be a working chief in a small agency like that. And if you're going to make it work, I'm never, ever going to ask any of my guys to do something that I'm not going to do myself. Mm-hmm. Like if I ask you to do it, it's because I would do it. I'm never going to just tell you to do something that I wouldn't sit down and do myself. So it's like, and that's just kind of like one of my rules that I play, but it's like, a lot of people don't know I do half the stuff, but yeah, man, I'm out here, I'm boots on the ground just like everybody else, man. I mean, I also make the calls and I do the meetings and I handle the admin stuff, but at the same time, I'm the guy out here, I'll handle the domestic, I'll do the rec, I'll do the rec report, I'll answer the phone, I'll do whatever I got to do, man. I'm hands in, all team in, man, and that's just the way that I try to, that's how I try to be, man.
That young energy, but also it's got to be a great benefit actually as well, because you can bridge the gap between the older officers and not just the officers, but the older, citizens and everything as well with the younger, because I think you're a Z, right? Generation Z.
Yeah.
If you want to call that. So, but you can also relate to other people in that generation, while a lot of older officers can't, probably because the world is completely different than it was 20 years ago.
Oh yeah. The guys that work for me now, they're like, man, they don't know how to work a computer. They have a hard time with a computer. They can't do a Word doc or cop and paste and stuff like that.
Or get on Zoom. We've had people before. Zoom.
That's it.
What is this?
That's
How
it,
do I
man.
do this on my phone? And we have to tell them and shit, and we're like, oh god, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
deep, man.
yeah.
Actually, there's a comedian we just interviewed. He's a police officer and comedian. He's talking about young officers, and he's like, every report is now written in emojis.
Shit, I haven't seen that. Yeah, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen reports written in emojis yet, but
it's a joke, I'm sure, obviously, but
I hope so.
yeah, but I bet it's like that. But you also do understand those kind of things.
Yeah.
Like if someone's like, oh, we got this text, it's a lead on something, and it's like freaking emojis. Like, oh, that means this, and this. Well, they're like, what the hell? Like you can actually go down that road and kind of get in the mind of a Gen Z person because you know they're not going to do the same things as somebody who's older. They're not going to like, well, write a letter or write shit on paper. You know it's like you can kind of get in their heads more, and like I'm not sure how much in terms of solving crimes or anything like that, but I'm sure it's helpful not only that, but also in dealing with the younger people because they can relate and you can relate to them better because there is a social difference. Right.
In all honesty, man, I love, I definitely don't have any disrespect towards any of the older law enforcement guys, man.
Of course.
And definitely like agree with what they've done. But it's like I have noticed a huge difference, man. I really hope that like, I've paved the way a little bit in some of the young leadership roles because a lot of people, man, just expect me to just come in and fail immediately. Like he's too young. It's not going to be good. And it's been nothing but the opposite, man. And the reason being is because, like you said, you do relate to the younger officers better, but you also understand how the world works now compared. It's not like I work with guys now, man. I do got some older guys that have some issues. They can't do the computer systems and this and that, and they have a lot of time and a lot of trouble with it. But one of the benefits, man, is I may not have to I don't need to be IT or contact IT because I am IT. I go in there and I'm setting up your password, I'm setting up your usernames, I'm walking you through how to do that kind of stuff. In addition to that, man, I'm also I'm doing all those things. Plus, I understand how it works with the admin stuff, how to set up calendars and the meetings and, Excel sheets and stuff like that, that they just don't know how to do or cannot do, or it's been, they grew up writing reports on paper and pencil and, they do understand Word doc, but by God, you hit one button on there and they lose it all and they think it's the end of the world. So, it's been a great way for me to pave that difference and just kind of like come in and help them out. I've been an asset to them because I can help them out in some of those weak points, but I feel like I'm also intelligent enough that I understand the law enforcement aspect too, but I don't rely on myself for a lot of that stuff. I'm not above asking for some damn help. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If I do not know everything, and I know where I'm at. I don't know everything. There's some fuckers, man, they think they know everything. You can't tell them nothing. And I'm talking about older guys, younger guys, both. And I'm not that way. I know what my limitations are, and I know I don't know everything. But where I don't know or where I lack short of, I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask you for your advice. If if before I do something, I'm going to say, hey, man, I'm going to talk to whoever I think has that experience or has done those years. If it's, I do it all the time. If I have something that, my captain, he's an older guy, I may ask him all the time. There may be something that I just don't understand, or maybe, the way that they used to do it here, they used to do it there, or whatever the case is. But I take that time and sit with them. I'm like, hey, can you tell me how to do this? Can you explain to me how you guys would have done this back then, or help me break? It works out well. I don't rely on myself to do it all. If I don't know, you can believe I'm going to ask somebody else, man, because I'm not above asking. There's some people above that. I ain't one of them people. So
and that's great to know. But because also just because, and this is one thing that I think young people in general seem to do, but I think it's more now so than ever before, is that there's a lot of things that are traditional and that are traditional for a reason. Like things in the past worked for a reason and they still work. So as long as because there's always progress, we got to change this and change that. But when shit works and these older police officers know this shit, then it works for a reason a lot of times. And the reason why they stick with it, because it's good that you're obviously able to see that and learn from that as well.
Man, a lot of old stuff works. I agree. I mean, I see some things that all the time, like just in what we do. I'm like, man, that idea would work much better than what I was thinking about doing. I'm going to actually complicate the process. So let's just keep it. I always make a joke. Let's keep it simple, stupid. That's what I tell people. So
that's the acronym.
Yep.
But well, now I want to ask you, how did your department end up on patrol live?
Well, man, honestly, with me being one of the youngest chiefs in the state and one of the youngest chiefs in America, that's really how that came about. I had known the producer slightly because he came and rode with me at another agency. Like I told you, I worked at the sheriff's office, and that they were actually thinking about possibly going with that sheriff's office at one point in time. And I had the honor of riding with one of the producers who came out to see to check out our agency, and anyways, fast forward years later down the road, I'm talking to him and he's like, "Man, you became the chief down there." He's like, "Man, that's awesome." He's like, "We've got to come down there and check you guys out." And he kind of knew my work ethic, man. He knows I'm a shit magnet. So it's like, dude, I like to go out here and get into stuff, man. That's the benefit, man, about being young too, dude. I still enjoy that. So I mean, I like it all.
Right.
I like my office paperwork, man, but I definitely still enjoy getting out here and getting into someone. So if anytime I get a free moment, man, I can go out there and get a good car chase going or something of that nature, man. I'm with those guys.
You said right before this interview you had one, huh? A car chase.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, absolutely. It's all the time, man. It's like, I'm all in, man. If it's whatever it takes to get it done, man. But really, and a lot of places, man, have gotten away from pursuits. If you guys follow the news and stuff, man, the way that these agencies are now, they really don't pursue that much anymore. And what we've got to do, man, is weigh the possibility of the crime versus life, of the innocent. And so, well, a lot of, I'm glad, man. I was blessed to have I tell everybody all the time, this damn job ain't hard, man. You just got to have common sense. And a lot of damn people lack common sense nowadays, man. And that is all it takes. You don't have to be a genius. We've just got to get back to a point where these damn people have got common sense. People ain't got it no more, man. And people think I'm a genius. Like, no, I'm not a genius. I just got some common sense, man. So you got to know when you should pursue and when you shouldn't pursue. Obviously, you got a tag light violation, man. That's all you got on the car. You shouldn't be pursuing that car, man, through a high density area. Now, do factors change that, man? If it's 3 o'clock in the morning and there's not a car on the road, your ass is mine. I'm going to chase you till the wheels fall off. But if it's not, man, and it's 12 o'clock lunchtime, you're in a density area or a very heavy populated area, man. I'm going to use some common sense. I'm not going to put the public at risk, but that's what people can't do anymore. A lot of people just can't handle that or just can't do that. And then something happens or somebody innocent gets hurt. And I hate that, it happens, but it happens frequently across America. Somebody innocent gets hurt in a police pursuit. And these people are ragging the officer. Oh, they shouldn't be pursuing. They shouldn't be doing this. They shouldn't be doing that. Well, when you don't enforce the law, the crime rate gets higher and the crimes get worse. And the people come back and continue to reoffend because there's no punishment. They're getting no repercussions for their actions. So I've realized that, and I refuse to subscribe to that crazy ass society. And if you break the law, you buy that ticket, you're going to ride the ride. That's my opinion, man. You've got to have repercussions for your actions. You can't. So I let the guys chase. I let them chase. I chase. And but I also trust their judgment. And if I hear it's getting somewhere, I'm going to cancel that chase. And if they haven't, I only hire people, man, too, that I'm going to be able to trust. That's another thing. And I know bigger agencies can't afford to do that because they're just so big. But I only hire people that I trust. If I don't trust you, I don't need you. Because if I can't trust you to make a sound decision, I don't want to be in bed at night worried about you're going to make a silly decision, man, and chase a car over a tag light and kill somebody innocent because you can't drive, you can't do that. But I'm also going to build you up in your deficiencies. So if your driving is your issue and stuff like that, we're going to go to driving school. We're going to do what we got to do to make sure you're a damn good driver. You're going to be pursuing these cars. So, but I make sure of that when the people that are pursuing, I trust them just as much as I trust myself. So that's the only way to do it.
Man, I just saw something on Patrol Live, I think it was last weekend, where some policy made it where they weren't allowed to pursue and they had to back off, but then they re-pursued. It was ridiculous. It's like, well, why not,
wasting time.
Look, man, we ain't damn. The thing is, you're either pursuing or you're not pursuing. I don't know. I didn't watch that, so I can't speak for what their policy is. But when people get in all this gray area with this policy bullshit, I don't look. I don't get in all that, man. It's as simple as this. If you are going to, you're either pursuing or you're not. There's no, well, we're not pursuing, but we're going to re-engage and we're doing this and we're either pursuing or we're not. And because the rest of it looks sketchy to other people who don't know what's going on, or they don't understand
like
really
us civilians.
they don't know
what the fuck was that
what
about?
do you mean? Are they, yeah, because the average human doesn't know, or the average citizen doesn't know what you're doing. Well, they're disengaging because of this policy, but they're going to re-engage if this happens. And all that does, it doesn't make any sense. If here's the thing: pursue the car, and if you can pit the vehicle, or your agency doesn't allow pitting, go somewhere else. Well, just don't go anywhere else. But if the agency doesn't allow pitting, man, then my mindset is you got to get that vehicle off the road as soon as you can, man. And that's my mindset behind it. And I actually, I talked to Chief Bradley Taylor, man, in Hazen, Arkansas, which is one of the
we've had him on, actually. He was on a few months ago, actually.
Okay. Well, see, he
Cool,
gets
good.
the mindset. He's got the right mindset, man. They believe it. They're going to end that pursuit as soon as they can because it's putting a risk for the public out there, man. It's just like we were talking about a minute ago. The risk is there when you're pursuing these vehicles. And people get so torn up over it, man. You'll hear people say, well, we don't want to pursue. We don't want to get sued. We don't want to do this. Well, and it's a liability. Well, newsflash, the entire damn job's a liability. Everything we do is a liability. Whether, getting in the patrol car every day and riding down the damn road is a liability. So these people that come up with this stuff, it's like, it's just something that they were trying to do for a CYA purpose, man. And they're not really, they're not literally looking at how they look from the outside in, man. My thing is,
not practical.
Vehicles breaking the law, suspects breaking the law. You need to get that guy off and you need to apprehend him, because if you don't, he's going to continue to do the same thing again. Use judgment. If you know it's not worth the risk to the public, then you don't need to do it. But if you do decide to pursue, you need to get it. You need to continue the pursuit as long as it's safe, but you need to get them off the road as soon as you can. That's why I recommend, honestly, I think all agencies should have the option to be able to use the pit maneuver of a policy, because if you can get that suspect off of the road, why are we not doing that? Why are we continuing this chase on for 10 and 15 minutes at a time, putting the public at risk every second longer and longer, when we got the opportunity right now to go ahead and end that pursuit? We can end the pursuit right now, and the only person that's going to be at jeopardy is the officer.
Yeah.
And that's part of the issue, obviously, with our law enforcement. A lot of it's big city stuff too. But just the fact that there's all these procedures in place that hinder what you're doing, including just like, and also obviously the social media and everything else going on that gets in the way of what you're doing. And it just makes me wonder, like, is a lot of the freedom, I'm sure, like having a taste of this kind of stuff. Do you have any desire to go into like a larger force or anything? Because it seems like this is the best way to do it if you're going to help a smaller community. Because I don't know. I mean, you wouldn't get this. You wouldn't have this freedom in like a large metropolitan police department.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. Like, I would love my next goal, man, would definitely try to be going to a larger agency, or maybe even running for sheriff. That's my next probably goal here, is what I'm looking to do, man. Because I've just realized, man, this system and the way everybody's doing this stuff, man, they've got it so backwards. We're getting into a time, man, of where these guys do not allow these officers to do their jobs. They don't allow the officers to do their jobs. They're tying their hands. The suspects got more rights than the freaking police. And nobody else seems to see that. And it's just getting worse. Every year it's getting worse. One officer makes a mistake and they take it out on every officer across America. But these people don't realize, like, dude, there's bad doctors. There's bad lawyers. If you watch paramedics and follow paramedics around, you're likely to see them do something unethical. This stuff goes on everywhere, but we're in the spotlight more now than ever. And because of it, they're restricting police so bad that they're not being able to do their damn jobs, man. And it makes me sick to my stomach, because I'm watching this stuff, man. And if you don't agree with everybody else, because a lot of people just are yes mans, man, and they just say, I agree, we shouldn't be pursuing for this, we shouldn't be doing this. But in reality, these same guys that are saying that know good and well 20 years ago, those are the same guys out here pursuing these suspects out here and doing car chases and having to use pit maneuver. They were doing that stuff 20 years ago. They weren't having these problems. And the crime rate and the things that people are doing then and are doing now are nowhere near the same. You know, now you've got juvenile crime who it's gone through the freaking roof, man. These juveniles are the ones that are out here shooting houses up and doing this and doing that. And there's no repercussions for it a lot of times, or the repercussions are so slim to light or none, you know, that there's nothing really going on, man. But I've recognized, man, you got to get out here. You got to start allowing these officers to do their jobs. You know, people, they complain. They complain when they do their jobs. They complain when we don't do our jobs. So I'm going to let you complain when we do our jobs. That's how I look at it.
Right. I'd rather you bitch at me for doing my job. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's it, man. I'm going to do my job. We're going to do it to the best we can. And I tell all my guys, I'm like, look, you will never have a problem here, even within policy, if you do things, as long as you do things and you don't do anything that's unethical, illegal, or unmoral. If you follow those 3 rules, everything else will usually be within policy. Now, you follow those 3 rules, everything else is going to be within policy, because at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's not about us. We're doing this job to make the community safe, and we're on the same team here. So we've got to start getting to a place back in law enforcement where it's like, dude, we're going to get you. Like, we're going to, if you run, we're going to pursue you. If you do something that's stupid, we're going to let you know about it. We're not kissing your ass. We're not sitting here and begging you and pleading you and asking you all these questions, man. We're not, we know we're going to come out here and do our job, man, and we're not going to put up with the disrespect. You see me sometimes, I get smart with somebody on the side of the road because I'm not putting up with the disrespect. I don't get paid enough to put up with your disrespect. I don't have to put up with your disrespect. There's not a law out here in this world that says I have to put up with your disrespect. So if you're going to treat me like an ass, I'm going to be an ass back to you. But I'm not, but you're not. But one thing is, like, at the end of the day, you are going to do what we ask you to do, because I mean, that is, people have forgotten, man. That's what law enforcement's for. Like, we're there to protect the public. We're there to protect life. We're there to, you know, protect property. Those are the things that we're there to do. And we don't, the verbal abuse, and I don't have to listen to you, and I don't have to, that's what's causing all these people to get hurt, man. Or they resist law enforcement stuff. They don't know, people have forgot, they don't know how to just follow the rules. You do what you need to do. We're conducting an investigation. Nobody usually gets hurt, man, as long as you are complying. Most of the time, you're watching officers go to freaking jail now, man, and the suspect is the one that initiated it. Don't get me wrong. I can just give you an example, because I'm going to go there. There was a shooting at one point in time. That I believe it was. I don't know. There's a shooting at one point in time that had happened. I can't remember exactly where it was, but the officer made a mistake, I believe, and she discharged her firearm, and she was trying to discharge her taser. Okay.
Was it a black woman? It was a black woman, wasn't it?
I can't remember. I believe it was a traffic stop somewhere. Yeah. She was going to discharge her taser because the suspect was pulling away from her, jumping in the car, and she discharged her firearm. Dude, these people now went insane over this shit, man. They told everybody like she should have been trained. She was I think she had like 21 years in. I could be wrong. Don't quote me, but she had a lot of years in on the force, and they were telling her how, you know, she made a mistake and she should have known better, and this and that, you know, all this stuff that was going on. But you know what? Not one freaking person said, man. Not one person sat there and said, you know what, maybe this is his fault. I don't know if she got charged. I want to say she got charged for making that mistake. So what you've got is an officer that's attempting to do their job. You got a suspect that resisted arrest, right? And in the part of resisting arrest, the officer made a mistake, and she discharged her firearm and did not discharge her taser. She said taser, 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 and discharged her firearm. But she was in the wrong for it, is my understanding. And there was so many people going viral on the internet talking about how, you know, she should have known better, and maybe she should have. Absolutely, she should have known better. She should have been better trained. But she should have been held accountable. But do we freaking forget that this all happened because the dude resisted? If you comply, normally that accident that she made would not have happened. Your action caused a reaction. That's what people have forgotten. It's their actions that's causing the reactions. You know, we can go back as far as George Floyd. Dude, his action caused a reaction. He resisted at the very initial beginning of the
there's
contact.
a lot involved in that whole thing. That's
yeah.
all political and especially when you know what's going on with him and what he had in his system. I mean, but you're right.
Absolutely.
They initiated.
Like I said,
they don't care about that.
By no means am I, condoning anything the officer did. Or
Oh,
anything,
I'm saying it's all. He shouldn't be. Yeah, it's. I'm not condoning it either.
Be considered a civil rights hero. Basically.
But then again, I guess there's a lot. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but there's a lot going on there. But you're right. It all stems from these people doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing, and not complying. And it goes all to the Wendy's drive-through one, to all these other ones that have happened. It's like
what I was thinking about was the thing with I think the guy was a lieutenant in the Army or something. Black dude. They pulled him over. And again, he's arguing with the police, and I don't have to get out. I don't have to. And they pepper spray him. And then all of a sudden, now the cop's the bad guy. I just saw I saw the video yesterday, as a matter. I've seen it a few times.
Exactly. I think I know what you're talking about. But and they make everything's got to be racially motivated. Dude, I'm black. Yeah. I'm here to tell you. I am here to freaking tell you I'm black. And I cannot stand when somebody tries to throw that race card with me, man, on the side of the road or whatever the case may be, man. But these people have not realized it's not about race. 99% of the time, it's probably not about anything to do with a race, man. It's the fact that the suspect resisted. Now here's the thing, the officer makes a mistake. I'm not disagreeing. Like in that lady's case, she made a mistake. She should have discharged her taser, but she discharged her firearm. So did she mess up? Absolutely. But we're just putting all that blame on her. We are not thinking anymore like, dude, he's responsible for his actions, though. That mistake would have never been made had the dude just complied and not tried to pull away from her. She would have never made her mistake if he just would have said, okay, yes, ma'am, I'm turning around and put my hands behind my back. But these damn people don't do that no more.
That's consequences.
Yep. It's crazy, man. And there's consequences behind your actions. And now people are scared to talk. People don't talk like that no more. People are scared to say these kind of things out loud because they're thinking they're going to get prosecuted or go to jail. But it's like society wants us to be they want police to be completely reactive. They don't want us to be proactive. They don't want us to do our job anymore. I feel like society's getting to a point where in the next 10, probably 20 years before I'm out of here, police will sit in a room somewhere and they'll only be able to respond to calls. They won't be allowed to stop cars. They won't be allowed to go out here and do their job or do anything that's proactive. They'll only be reactive. That's the way that it's looking because that's the way I feel like society wants us to go. They don't want anybody, and these people now, they don't want them to have responsibility. They don't want them to have any consequences for their actions. But yet, when these people, the same people are breaking into your house or doing something, who's the first damn person you call? It's law enforcement. But you know how to do it better than we do. It's insane.
Oh, they know your job. Yeah. Or here's another one. I noticed people love to fuck with your traffic stops. I'm seeing that a lot where you'll have a traffic stop and all of a sudden some outsider asshole comes walking up. What did he do? How come he's getting arrested? What do you give a shit? Do you even know the guy?
Exactly.
They got their phones on. That's why. It's all about because they know that they're waiting to get the opportunity to make a bunch of money off some fucked up thing that a cop does, or something else, or some kind of just an interaction that causes some controversy, so they can sell their freaking video and make some money off it.
That's it. Why not just let these guys, man, I just don't understand what in the hell's getting into people that they just can't allow us to do our job. Just allow us to do our job. Just comply with law enforcement when they're out there with you. That is how you go home safe. That is how we go home safe. Do what we're asking you to do. We're not asking you to do it for fun. Even if you disagree with what we're doing or we're doing something that we're making a mistake, we're still acting agents of the government and we're asking you to comply with an order at that time. If you don't agree with that order, when you go to court, that is your time to argue that, and that is the time we'll be held accountable for our actions if we made that mistake. But people don't think like that anymore. It's just all hell with you. I'm gonna do what I want to do. You ain't gonna tell me what to do. You don't, and that is what escalates, and that is how people get hurt. That is how all these things keep on happening. And then, like I said, though, you can't even talk like that anymore. You can't say these things out loud anymore. These people think you're a terrible person, man. Or, like I said, I get a little grief, man, in my area because the way that I think, because I allow officers to do their job. I'm looked at like sometimes, well, he's being reckless. He's allowing them to do this. No. I'm not being reckless. I'm protecting the community, man. Something that you guys have gotten scared and forgotten how to do. in the area, you're not allowing your officers to do your job. I'm allowing my officers to do their job because that's what they're getting paid to do. And as long as they're working for me, I want them to do their jobs. I want the community to feel safe. And these people don't think like that.
Yeah,
So
it's like oh well, we don't care if citizens are reckless and doing reckless. We just don't want you to be reckless because citizens are going to be reckless, but we don't want you to be reckless to the reckless citizens. They can just be calm. I mean, obviously you're going to be calm, but you know, you don't want you to do anything. They can shoplift. Shoplifting's no big deal. What they do, this is no big deal. It's not a big deal. What, you know, all these little things that aren't a big deal anymore, or it's like they were stressed, or they had this, or they had this going on, or whatever. And it's like, and then you're handcuffed, but the citizens aren't. The citizens can do it. That's the problem. That's why you need to because you don't know if somebody took too many drugs. You don't know what's going on. They could drive fast through a light, and then they speed up after they see you, and you go, well, we can't pursue them. Well, why are they speeding up after they see you?
Right. It's becoming that way, man. I'm seeing it. That's the main reason you asked me why I want to go to a bigger agency, man. I definitely want to start giving back to law enforcement, man, because I think that their respect is underdeserved. I think these agencies and these agency heads that are in control have forgotten, man, a lot of them. I'm not gonna say all of them, but a lot of them have forgotten, man, that they need to be letting these guys do their jobs, man. The whole job is a liability. Everything that we do is a liability. But at the same time, you know, we get tired of getting crucified in the news, man. And that's what makes it so hard. That's why these agency heads are the way they are. One officer makes a mistake and the rest of us are held accountable. For example, we just had a state trooper, I believe, recently in our area, got in a pursuit, killed an innocent bystander that was in a vehicle, I believe, during the pursuit. Well, of course, immediately everybody in this area, this is why police shouldn't be able to pursue. This is why this happened. This is why that happened. And it's like, okay, I understand what you're saying. I do understand what you're saying. And I feel for your pain. I feel for the victim, and I feel for, you know, the trooper. I feel for everybody involved. But at the same time, these people that are saying that, they're ruining it for law enforcement, because now what you got is the next time they see a stolen vehicle, which is why they were pursuing this vehicle, is my understanding, they're not going to be able to pursue this vehicle. So now what you've got is somebody that's getting their property stolen, and more people start in that same area. Now they're all getting their property stolen, and there's no repercussions for it because, oh, well, it's just property. It wasn't worth being pursued over, or whatever the case may be. The thing is, bad things happen all the time. This job is good. Bad things are going to happen, but it wouldn't be so bad if the media didn't crucify us every single time, man, that we make a mistake. They've got to understand that we're human, dude, and things are going to happen. And when that happens, we need to be held accountable for our actions, absolutely. But what we don't need, man, is all these people out here telling us, well, this is what they should have done. This is how they should have done their job. Just understand that these things happen. You know, I was reading an article a couple of years ago in college, and it was talking about how doctors have a lot of incidents every year where a patient dies on the table. And you know what happens? They call that a damn malpractice. And these people, and they go to school for 8 years, right? They go to school for 8 years, 8 to 10 years or more, and it's a malpractice. And their insurance pays out, and this doctor keeps his job. There's no media outrage. There's no news articles. There's nothing, right? We go to school for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, some of them 8 weeks, depending on what state you're in, right? And we're supposed to know how to be a damn counselor, a DSS worker, an animal control officer. We're handling every damn thing, and we're supposed to know all that in 8 weeks of the training that we got. And then they throw us out here on the road, and we make a mistake, and we're going to prison. We're going to jail if somebody dies in our custody. We're getting the book thrown at us, and you're sitting there thinking, what in the hell is wrong with you people? Do you know you're talking about doctors, man? They go to school for years, and they're killing people,
right?
And they call it a malpractice.
That's crazy. Or well, you know, I think, and people are going to hate this, but I think they should take the word serve out of protect and serve, because that's, I think, how people are treating, you know, the citizens are treating you guys like you're here to serve. You work for me. You know, you hear that all the time too. You know,
you do hear that.
You're a servant. You serve me, man. No, I'm here to protect you, motherfucker. You know. So
well, it's
you know what, man, and that's the truth. We're here to protect you. but we're getting more responsibilities every year, dude. I'm seeing more shit get piled on law enforcement just in the time I've been in it. I'm seeing, we're becoming social workers. We got to know how to be a counselor. We got to parent your children for you because you can't parent your own kids. You won't bust their ass anymore. So now you're calling us to come to your house to tell your kid to go to school. You're calling us.
That's
I have seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's the stuff we get called for. I go out to houses because you're calling me because you won't bust your kid's ass, and he's telling you no, and he's not going to school, and I got to come out there and take your kid to school or make your kid go to school. That's the stuff police are getting called for. So now I'm having to be a parent. I'm having to be a counselor. I'm having to be I'm having to do everything, man. I'm having to. They want us to find you shelter if you're domestic violence. We're doing all these other things that we got to do on the scene now, more and more and more. And they're adding all their responsibilities. Now we're rendering aid. They're giving us Narcan. So now we got to give you Narcan and bring you back to life. We got to perform life-saving procedures, a medical procedure on you to bring you back to life. So now we're being trained in the medical field. They're adding all this shit to us every single year. And what do we get for it? We don't get a raise for it. We don't make any decent money off of it. We don't get any. We get disrespect. And when we make a mistake we make one mistake, we go nationwide, and then we go to prison. If we give you that Narcan and what we wasn't supposed to, we're still probably end up going to get in some kind of trouble. We're going to get rode up or go to jail or both or whatever the case may be. And these people don't seem to understand that. It's like, they're not waking up, dude. But really, sit down and think about how much you're adding to our plate. And you're giving us 8 weeks training. You're giving us some of them. BLET, which is basic law enforcement training in North Carolina right now, is 16 weeks. 16 weeks, and I'm supposed to be able to know how to do all this stuff that I shouldn't be able to do. I shouldn't have. That's nothing. You got doctors going to school, like we said, 8 to 10 years or more.
Psychologists,
and they don't
40 years
and they make
least.
mistakes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's no repercussion, and there's no media outrage when somebody dies on their table. There's nothing going on. There's nothing going on like what goes on in law enforcement. And we've got to ask ourselves why. And what are we going to do to change it, man? What I do, and I do the best I can being an agency head, man, is I'm going to continue to fight back and push back and try to make sure the officers are doing the job, that we're getting everybody safe, and that we're doing it the best efficient way possible. We're not doing it reckless. We're doing it in a way that's going to keep people safe, because what matters to me is your safety in my town. What matters to me is everybody else's safety that's coming through the town and the officer safety. I weigh in all those factors before I put a policy in place or I decide what we're going to do. But until more agency heads start standing up and saying, look, we ain't putting up with this no more. I mean, you got teachers and stuff that go on strikes, right? They'll go on strikes and they're not getting paid enough. And the truckers are going on strikes and they're not getting paid enough. Guys, we're law enforcement. We get freaking shot at, dude. We're getting shot at. We're getting threatened. Our families get threatened. You got people following us home. You got all these responsibilities that I mentioned. And we don't make any money off of it. We're getting paid less than the truck driver. We're getting paid less than we're getting paid less than the teachers. We're getting paid less than everybody, and we don't go on strike. You know why we don't go on strike, though? Is because we think that we hold ourselves to a higher standard. We don't get into this for the money. So how dare we go on strike and act like this? But honestly, if that's what it takes to start getting some respect back in law enforcement, maybe that's exactly what people ought to, maybe that's what law enforcement guys ought to start doing, is walking away, because that's what everybody tells us. They act like they can do without us. So maybe they need to see for a little while that you cannot do without law enforcement. And that would be a wake-up call to these people, because right now, they don't have that wake-up call, man. And we don't go on strike. We don't do any of that stuff because we're more professional than that. And we don't want to be those people, so we will never do anything like that. But we should. We absolutely should. When we're making less than the teacher, and that, we're putting ourselves in harm's way every day, man, for you, for your life. And we get nothing in return, and it's becoming so negative. So as long as I'm an agency head, I'm going to do everything I can, man, to respect my guys and make sure that they're happy working for me. But I'm also going to make sure the community's happy. And you'll find out the people that are not law-breaking citizens, the law-abiding citizens, they love how I do things. They love the way that things are being done.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because they realize that's what keeps people safe. They're not woke, man.
Yeah, that's the problem. The woke issue is
and that's reassuring. And it's so reassuring that there's some young people still have that passion and still really have that drive to serve the community in that way, and aren't put off by it or mistrustful and actually want to improve it. So yeah, that's really great. It's really reassuring for us, for a lot of us, like you said, who just want want to feel safe and want to feel like the people that actually do commit crimes are actually, paying for it, because it's better for our society. It's better for everybody.
It blows my mind, man. It's one of those things. Like I said, when I see things go on the news, man, I'm like, what kind of society we turn into? The truckers and stuff, man. I think they went on strike, and everybody, actors, they're going on strike, and the people that are writing the script, they're going on strike, and they think they deserve more money. And I'm sitting here thinking, dude, I've got cops that are working right now that I know, and people that are working, they're putting their lives on the risk every day. They're going indoors and kicking indoors. They're getting shot at and everything else for $40,000 a year. That's what they're making over here in this area, $40,000 a year. They're not making any money. You're talking about police chiefs that are in the area of other towns towns that are bigger than mine that are making $80,000 a year. And you're a trucker and you're making $100,000 a year. And that's not good enough for you. And you're pissed off about it and going on strike. Can you imagine how that sits? And, it's not just me that thinks like that. I'm just the one that's out here verbalizing it. But Can you imagine how that sits and that goes through any other police officer's mind when the actors and the people that are writing these scripts are thinking they deserve all this money? And you got guys like us that are
sports figures taking knees and shit like that. And
Come on, man. Can you imagine how that makes us feel, man? I mean, honestly, really think of that. It's heart-wrenching, dude. It's heart-wrenching because it's like you people have really got your priorities backwards. You got people out here doing this job for practically free, getting killed and leaving their wives and their children at home for nothing, for pennies on the dollar. And you people think you deserve more money to drive a damn truck from one end to the other. I mean, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's true.
That's wild. Well, I have a lighter, maybe something on the lighter side for you, because I have a question about one of the calls you went to. Absolutely. The pizza guy, the guy who kept ordering pizzas, and the female drivers that came out and he would walk out naked. Did you have to go back out to him?
I did not. Huh? That's one of those things, man. That's one of those things when I say it works out, man. Sometimes you give people that stern talking to, man, and they remember it. Matter of fact, the gentleman came over to my office the next day and apologized for his behavior. And explaining, that he had a little bit to drink, and he was just trying to talk to me, and he was telling me, man, that he apologized for his behavior, and just over and over again, man, he kind of thanked me for the way that I talked to him out there, but there was no disrespect till this day. Since then, I've seen him a few times, and he's, hey, how are you, and stuff like that. But we're on the same page now. He knows that I'm not playing any games, and sometimes that's what I'm saying. Sometimes when I give you that talking to, it's not necessarily because I'm trying to be mean. It's not necessarily because I even really am going to go back and do what I say I'm going to do. But if you hear that one time, you're thinking, most of the time, I'm one of those people, though, man. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Like, you're not talking me out of it. Even if it's once the line's crossed, it's done. So if I tell you I'm going to do something, I'll never set up a boundary and not go back and follow through with it. I got to tell you that sometimes and verbalize it, and more. We do that. And you know what? I don't have that same problem, but I'm able to do that because I'm in a small town. And I can say those things, man. And I can say, you know what, man, if I have to come back out here, I'm going to go back in there and I'm going to get a warrant for your arrest. I'm going to lock your butt up. And I can say that. But a lot of police officers don't say that nowadays. They won't say those kind of things because their agency head would disagree with it or wouldn't like to hear that, or it doesn't sound professional. Well, guess what? Professional is not always what's working. That's not what's always working. Sometimes you got to tell people the way it is. And I did. I told them the way it was. I've not had a problem since. Sometimes that factor, that tactic is what works. That's what speaks to people.
That's awesome. That's great.
That's great.
So I was wondering about that one. I was like, did he have to go back out there? Because we never knew, obviously, but that's pretty cool. And we got a question from someone online named Carissa, and she wanted to know, I think I know the answer to this already, but she wanted to know if you're related to a law enforcement officer in Indian River, Florida, that's also on Patrol Live.
No, man. I've had several people ask me that. Apparently there's somebody that talks just like me. So apparently I sound like Bill Clinton. That's what I hear from everybody. So I can't.
Oh, now I cannot hear it. Oh, shit.
No, man. They say I sound just like Bill Clinton.
You feel our pain.
That's what you need to say on a traffic stop. I feel your pain.
So you're not related to this other
no. Apparently he sounds just like me. So I guess we got two Bill Clintons in the house.
I don't know who she's talking about, but I was just like, okay, I'm gonna have to pay attention now. So but are you guys still on on patrol anymore? Or
we are. We're just a fill-in agency, so we fill in from time to time. Mainly as an agency needs a break. We're just too small to do it full time. It will wear me out and wear the other guys out here that we're just because of our size, man. So we don't want to do that, and so what we do is we just fill in from time to time as an agency needs a break, or there's an opening in the show or a special segment or something. They may call us and ask us to fill in.
Oh, well, it's been a pleasure, man.
It has.
It's really quite the discussion, and it's really encouraging to know. And I'm sure there's other people, because if you're out there and if you have a drive to do this, there's sure other young people that do as well. So there's not all doom and gloom in some ways. There's little lights at the end of the tunnel here.
There's some light at the end of the tunnel. Absolutely, man. I'm glad I enjoyed it as well, man. Thank you guys for the conversation. It's nice sometimes, man, to sit down and have the conversation that's a very real conversation, or conversation that needs to be heard, man, because like we talked about, man, it's just not many people have these conversations anymore. And if they do, or they're scared, man, these are conversations they want to have behind closed doors. But it's not that we're saying anything wrong or anything bad, but it's just the truth. The truth needs to be, people need to start understanding the truth, man.
Well, you know what's great? What's awesome too is if you were in one of those bigger agencies and you might have been talking like that, you might have got some flack. Like, you said this in an interview, and and then you get in trouble and whatever. Where now it's like, I can say, fuck, man, I'm the police chief.
Well, you know what, man, when I worked for bigger agencies, I did get flack over it, because I'd say, look, I'm always been me. The way I talk on live video or on Patrol Live, man, the way I talk on that show is the same way that I talk now. I mean, I've always talked that way. So it has got me in quite a bit of flack, man. My first few agencies, man, there were some people couldn't handle it. They were like, I'm like, well, look, dude, I just telling him the truth. And they're like, well, I always joke, he can't handle the truth.
Well, don't change that, man.
Some people can't handle the truth. So I say sometimes I'm a little too honest and a little bit. That's the only way I know to be, man. I'm too honest and too blunt, and I say things and it doesn't sound pretty, and it may sound a little rough and a little mean, but it's got good intentions behind it. And so I had supervisors, man, that wasn't ready for that. When I got one supervisor till this day, he swore he went gray because I worked for him, just all the stuff, man, that I would say and get him into. So,
some people just, the part of it is too, some people just don't have the balls, man. They're in these supervisory positions, but they're political animals. They're more concerned with their image than they are concerned about what's right. So I feel it, man.
That's it, man. Thank you guys, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Hang on with us real quick. When we end, we just wanted to throw a few more things at you when we stop. So we're going to just real quick. All right. Well, this has been the Nothing Sacred interview with Chief Will Armstrong of Brookford, North Carolina. I'm Maxwell Silverhammer.
And I am Cruise Control. And that's the story there, bitches. Talk to you soon. Later.
We are nothing sacred. We are nothing sacred. We are nothing sacred. With Maxwell Silverhammer. We are nothing sacred. With cruise control. We are nothing sacred.